Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and update 1.3 is finally released. By the time that this video releases, the patch should be live. Keep in mind that sometimes Steam servers go a bit strange, but we've got it here and we can talk about it as this is going to be the last major patch before we start looking towards Immortal Empires. So as you can see right here, there's a lot of changes coming into effect, and this is a brief overview. We're going to get into, well, the whole patch notes now, so let's not waste any more time and jump right in. So coming alongside this patch is another free pack of Regiments of Renown known as Regiments of Renown 2. In update 1.3, we're introducing our second Regiments of Renown unit pack as a free upgrade to the game. This month the focus is on cavalry. We've taken some of the best cavalry units from each faction and amped them up to create their elite counterparts, now available in both campaign and battle settings. Okay, and there's 7 units, so this is going to be quite exciting. You can already see a little picture just giving some information, so let's go on all the units. So for Grand Cafe, we've got the Righteous Lancers of Wei Jin. These are great Longmar riders. These formidable lancers are the Guardians of Grand Cafe's Sky Fleet. These elite bodyguards protect and serve as the bodyguards of the Lords of the Skies, cutting through the thickest armor with their master-crafted weapons. So they've got the ability of Guardian, which reduces damage taken by lords and heroes that are close to this unit. That's going to be quite useful considering obviously the dragons. Then the attribute immune to psychology, once again very helpful. And finally a damage modifier of armor-piercing attacks. Overall, I think this is going to be a fun unit. I haven't really used the Longmar Riders too much, so this should be quite interesting to see how they work. Moving on to Khorne, we have Heralds of Khorne's Fury. These are Blood Crushers of Khorne. Riding into battle with the heat of Khorne's Fury, the Heralds make kindling of all that would challenge them on the battlefield. They wield some of the most ravenous of Khorne's cursed blades, and take very little to enrage the spirits possessing them with a fiery wrath. And their ability is Mantle of Immolation, which is a passive, which confers weaknesses to fire to all enemy units within the area of effect. This should be quite cool. I'm a big fan of Blood Crushers. Like, I've loved them on the tabletop, so I'm a big fan of them in game too, just because of association, and I use them a lot. I play a lot of Khorne. It's actually really weird, considering I'm a Senesce fan, but yeah. Next, we have the Oath Brothers of Tor. These are Warbear Riders. Lightning ripples across the weapons and armor of the Oath Brothers, gifts from their patron god Tor, the Kislev god of thunder, allowing them to deliver cutting magic attacks to their foes. Okay, so far so good. I'm a big fan of the fact that we're getting more references to the other gods. So ability, Call of Tor, active, bombards all enemies surrounding the unit with lightning strikes, applying the blinded contact effect to affected enemies, limited use. Ooh, that sounds pretty fun. And damage modifier, magical attacks. Okay, this sounds like it's going to be a really fun unit. I know people are sick of seeing so many bears, but at least it's a Tor one and not another Urson one. Next we have the Barons of the Bog. These are Pox Riders of Nurgle. To be near the Barons is to suffer from the Wasting Sickness, a weakening aura that weakens the sword arms of nearby opponents. At the same time, their vile steeds revitalize nearby demons of Nurgle with their fetid gases. This is interesting, okay. So ability, they've got Miasma of Rot, passive, restores vigor to nearby allied units, that's going to be very useful. Ability, the Wasting Sickness, reduces the potency of enemy weapons and mass of units caught within the area of effect. This is only active when the unit is engaged in melee, but it's also a passive too. And a stat adjustment, they've got increased armor. These are going to be very powerful, I think. So, yeah, I wonder how... I've got to give them a good proper test, actually. I've got to see how these work. Moving on to the Ogre Kingdoms, we have the Sky Striders. These are crushers with great weapons. These unstoppable riders call the peaks of the long-lost Titans their home, where they explore the mountaintops and fashion the forgotten steel of the Sky Titans into their crude armor and weapons, adding to their potency in battle. That's a nice throwback to the Sky Titans. It's the lore guy in me. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's really nice. Anyways, contact effect, Frostbite, reduces the speed of enemies stuck in melee by this unit. Cool. Stat adjustment, increased weapon damage. Stat adjustment, increased missile resistance. So yeah, this should be really powerful. Yeah, I'm kind of into this. I haven't played a lot of ogres lately, so this might be a good reason to go back to that. Alright, now Senesce with the Eternal Entourage. These are Heartseekers of Senesce. The presence of the Eternal Entourage empowers nearby champions to new heights. Their worship filling their chosen idol with strength and prowess. Ability, Obsessive Adoration, which is a passive, empowers the melee attack and weapon strength of all friendly lords and heroes within the area effect. Not too bad. If you can have your lord and heroes mounted, that's probably the best way to use it. Well, an Exalted Keeper of Secrets could be good there too. And a Tribute, Perfect Vigor. Yeah, so far so good. They're really powerful in their generic form, so they really didn't need that many effects anyway. And finally we have the Knights of Immolation. These are Doom Knights of Tzeentch. Keep in mind that all the Demon faction ones will likely be recruitable by the Demon Prince himself, like we had with the original pack. So, wielding lancers imbued with Tzeentchian fire, the Knights of Immolation ride into battle on particularly spiteful discs of Tzeentch, spewing fire on their enemies below. We know they might not look like your traditional mounts, but don't let that fool you. These elite cavalry are nonetheless deadly. So they've got the ability Searing Torment, which is active, bombards enemies directly below with fire damage, and confers the Warp Flame contact effect, carries more uses than normal, but the ability only recharges once the unit is in melee combat, limited use. Okay, I kinda like this though. That's gonna be there to make you forced to do a lot of hit and runs too, but that could work out quite well if you know how to point your range units. And lastly, we got the damage modifier for magical attacks and flaming attacks. Overall, very good unit from what I can imagine. So yeah, this should be quite exciting. Alright, so we do have an interesting change here, where land battles now join the ranked matchmaking. Land battles are now available in the ranked matchmaking pool alongside the existing domination battles. Participants now have a 50-50 chance to enter a land or domination battle when they queue up for a match. And the following maps have been added to the land battle pool: Death Pass, Armhain, Battle for Itza, Broken Leg Gully, the Silver Spire, Blasted Lands, Darkland Crater, the Flats of Kislev, Kislev Troll Country, Floating Farms, which is Cafe Farmland, and Wastes of Senesce, Senesce Wastelands. I'm not too sure what people are going to think about that, because I know some people didn't like Domination. I like it, but I prefer normal, because it just kind of reminds me of tabletop. I'm not too sure about the 50-50 chance. I think it would have probably been better if they would have had just 2 ladders, but that's just my own personal opinion. I am rather curious to see what you guys think about this. So now we're actually going into the game changes itself, with the first being stability and performance. We do have a dev note that we have to read first. Thanks to the amazing work of one of our community modders, Spartan VI, and their UI performance patch mod, a stuttering issue was brought to our attention when hovering over components of the UI, particularly when you have multiple mods installed. The root issue was caused when the game searches for UI modifications that are supposed to overwrite the base look of the UI. The stuttering occurs when the game cannot find a modded file in the manifest for the retail game data, at which point it broadens its search to search through the rest of the mod folders on the disk. The more mods you have installed, the more folders it has to explore, and the more stuttering you experience as it does. Okay, this is very interesting. The workaround offered by the UI performance patch was to duplicate the mod files in the initial search location, thus negating the need for additional searching and improving performance at the cost of duplicating files. The fix we're implementing today goes one step further, creating a persistent reference of whether a modification exists in the initial file that gets searched. You'll still experience stuttering the first time you encounter a new UI component, but it should only happen once and dodges the duplication of data in the game files. This initial stuttering is something we'll continue to work on in the future, so watch out for those improvements later on, and thanks again to Spartan VI for helping others enjoy the game to its fullest potential. Yeah, this is really good. Okay, it's great that they're actually giving shoutouts to modders too. That's fantastic. And it's nice that they found a solution for that. Hopefully it doesn't become too much of an issue, but it looks like they've fixed a lot of stuff. But if we carry on to that section, improved how UA assets are loaded over extended sessions in an effort to reduce stuttering and frame drops. We will continue to investigate performance optimizations when navigating the UI to address alongside future updates, while also empowering the use of UI skins and mods created by the community. Great. Disable the cursor in the benchmarks to prevent results from being skewed by highlighting off-screen elements. That's something that I kind of noticed too, so that's kind of good that it's been fixed. Fixed an issue where certain character resources were being loaded during campaign gameplay, causing frame rate spikes. Yeah, that's like Kairos, I think, had that type of issue. So yeah, that's going to be good to see gone. And fixed a rare crash triggered by the AI when defending in battle. I've seen that. I've actually had that. So yeah, okay, yeah, that's good. Alright, so next we have graphics. Fix the alpha fade out at death for blue horrors to ensure that their bodies are cleared from the battlefield upon their death. Okay, so far so good. They are demons, they do need to fade out. And if we go to the UI section, fix several instances where the description of text of buildings failed to account for the latest balance changes. Okay. Fix the descriptive text and iconography of the ogre monster building chain of settlements to match the version built in camps. Remove the white bar displayed on the top panel upon entering a battle where dark elf units were included in the army of a different faction, such as when seduced to join the army. I don't think we've seen dark elves. Ever. Well, you see them when you play as Korstelton because you've got a quest battle, but yeah, okay. Maybe they've done this in line with testing for Immortal Empires, I guess? Anyways, let's carry on. Several changes have been made to character detail panel. The list of characters at the top of the character details panel now uses the same sorting as the Lords and Heroes dropdown. Lords are displayed first alongside their embedded heroes, and then the rest of the heroes are included at the end of the list. Yeah, that's going to be helpful, that's good. Lords are now displayed with a different frame to differentiate them from heroes, cool, and embedded heroes are now displayed with smaller icons and lines drawn to the lord that they serve. Again, very, very useful. Okay, so far, good changes. We're going into direct gameplay changes here, and there's quite a few, so let's jump in with the general section. To prevent instances where range units hold their fire because a friendly unit is in their line of fire, overlapping units are now considered by the game as part of the same units. This should ensure that range units can more consistently carry out firing orders. Okay, yeah, good. Especially for, Kislev and stuff. Small or multiple entity artillery and chariot units will no longer have collision when killed. Thank God. This will help alleviate issues where larger entities such as the Ogre Mournfang Cavalry were having trouble pathing around the destroyed artillery pieces. Yeah, I had that issue a lot. It was annoying. Anyways, the Tzeentch, Nurgle, and Senesce technologies, which previously provided low passive abilities to greater demon units, now instead provide additional uses of the bound spells granted by other technologies. Okay. Yeah, that works out quite well. Armies fleeing from bastion gates are now prevented from making attacks of opportunity. This also prevents a progression blocking bug that could occur during the battles. Okay, so far, yeah, that's useful. There's not really too much to say about certain things here, but let's continue. Autonomous riders and other entities are now properly reset after resurrection. This allows burning chariots to continue shooting where they were previously prevented from doing so. Okay. Fixed a bug where matched combat was not triggering for infantry units. Yeah, I've seen that. It's a bit of an issue. Fixed a bug which would prevent certain items from expanding the Woods of Magic Reserve. I've had that. It was a bit annoying. Fixed a bug which caused some entities in flying cavalry units such as Great Longmar Riders to remain airborne after the unit previously charged an enemy ground unit. Yeah, okay, these are good patches which are getting fixed up. Fixed a bug where flying units would wander aimlessly after abandoning melee combat. Fixed a bug where units would refuse to enter settlements until issued multiple attack orders. Interesting, okay. When ordered to attack, groups of units, which include range units, will now move to a valid position where their range units can fire on the enemy, rather than to a position in the same zone, but too far away from the target. This is going to be very helpful. Cool. Okay, so far so good. Then we've got a few more changes here. The attrition from plagues can become very frustrating to deal with in-game, so we've made some adjustments to make it less burdening. And we can see the adjustments down here. Okay, yeah. That's not too bad. There's a few things for the Demon Prince, which is probably going to help him a bit more, like increasing Nurgle corruption. Overall, I think they're not too bad. And there's also a very important change here, which is the thing with the changing of the ways, where the minor factions can no longer use them. So, yeah, that's going to be helpful. It does say Realm of Chaos, though. I hope it also comes to Immortal Empires, and there's an increased cooldown applied, so Kairos won't be spamming it as much. So, yeah, all this sounds really, really good. I'm happy about this. Moving on to AI fixes. So, improve how the AI scouts forest to generate more informed and decisive AI actions. Okay. Improved how the AI utilizes summoned units in battle. Yeah, that was an issue. I did notice that summoned units were just not working too well. Fixed several issues which allowed the AI to use abilities when it shouldn't, including after the conclusion of a battle. I've not seen that, but I can imagine that would be very frustrating. An issue where AI armies would focus almost exclusively on backline units is being addressed to encourage more meaningful tactics on the battlefield. This should also address an issue during siege battles which would compel the AI to scale the walls and march through defending units to enter the city. AI-controlled units will no longer try push through the front line just to attack a backline unit. Yes, this is going to be good. This is going to be interesting. Because now it's going to be proper battles, not just that weird blob that we had, I think. Or at least I hope that's not the weird blob. But we're going to have to see. Anyways, spells. Direct damage spells now deal magical, non-physical damage, meaning that physical resistance will no longer serve as a layer of defense as it did previously. That's going to be quite interesting, yeah. And exploit fixes. Mana reserve effects, such as those provided by the Jade Amulet, are now correctly applied, preventing an issue which could result in infinite magic reserves. Ooh. Okay, well, yeah, that was going to be called for eventually, wasn't it? So now we're jumping into factions and balance, and in the general update section, they're going to talk about the defeat traits, which I think was really well needed. I know a lot of people thought the same way, so let's just jump right in. Upon defeating the Demon Prince, oh, they're not calling him Daniel anymore, the attrition effect now applies to all forms of attrition. Okay, that's actually quite good, yeah. Upon defeating Catherine, enables frostbite attacks to the victorious lord. Alright. Upon defeating Kostaltin, enables flaming attacks for the victorious lord. Upon defeating Korgath, further reduces the ability of a plague to spread from 20% to 80% and increases growth from plus 10% to plus 30%. Actually, really good. Yeah, that's actually really, really good. Upon defeating Skarbrand, charge and weapon strength bonuses now also apply to the Lord's whole army. Ooh, yeah, very, very good. And then we know where they are in Immortal Empires, so Cetra going straight for Skarbrand is going to be deadly. Okay, upon defeating Greasus, increases the income from all buildings to plus 20%. Is this faction-wide? Because if that's faction-wide, wow. Now, that has to be province-wide, right? That has to be province-wide. I mean, we'll wait and see. The patch is just out now, so we can test it. Upon defeating Skrog the Sorcerer, replaces the Winds of Magic increases when channeling trait with Winds of Magic Power Reserve capacity plus 8. Okay, not bad. Upon defeating Nakari, adds speed plus 6% for Lord's Army. Ooh, okay. Upon defeating Kairos, added Winds of Magic Power Reserve capacity plus 5. Remove the when fighting Tzeentchian factions context from spell. Okay, yeah, okay, that's pretty good. We're going to talk about the Demon Prince changes because not a lot has happened here. The Plague Trooper's skill has now replaced the charge bonus effect. So the effect now is up to melee defense plus 6 for Nurgling's Plague Bearers of Nurgle, Exalted Plague Bearers, and Forsaken of Nurgle units. Overall, good change. I am a big fan of the defeat traits. That's just a really, really nice change. So yeah, I'm really happy about that. Alright, so we're moving on to Grand Cafe. We're going to read over the dev note first. In Update 1.3, we wanted to provide a solution for Cafe when it comes to their ability to hold the line in infantry combat. As a range-focused faction, this is a critical element of their gameplay, which is why we're making Harmony even more potent for melee units by adding melee stats to Young, okay, and adding a less impactful benefit to speed to Yin, as we're generally content with the current performance of ranged units. Other than this, we're partially rolling back the projectile penetration strength of Crane Gunners, thank you, as we went somewhat overboard in Update 1.2. Somewhat. Yeah, they were terrifying. We're also aware of Cafe's struggles in the competitive battle space, so we're introducing cost changes to further stabilize Cafe's position. Alright, so far so good. I wouldn't call them a range-focused faction. I'd say that they're more of the middle ground, kind of like the Empire in a sense, because, well, you know, Harmony is such a big thing. But yeah, overall, there's a lot of changes. I'm not going to go through all of them because that would be absolutely insane. Because, yeah, it's mostly just balance fixing and all that, so we're going to move on. Overall, you can see everything on screen right now, and hopefully you find something which you thought was needing to be fixed. I can't really comment too much on Cafe because I haven't really played too much Cafe. That's just the issue here. Moving on to Khorne, the dev note says the following: we're overall happy with Khorne's battle balance at the moment. The only exceptions are the cultists, who, across the board, will now need to be in melee to recharge the initial cooldown of their summon abilities. We're making an adjustment to avoid scenarios where a large number of cultists can be used to trivialize battles. Yeah, okay, that kind of makes sense. Well, yeah, there's nothing to really complain there. The cultists of Khorne are quite strong. They'd be a bit better if they could ride on a juggernaut. That's all I'm saying. Well, all in all the cultists from all the different factions should be able to ride their god-given mounts because, yeah. But let's just not get into that again, because that's just another argument. Moving on to Kislev, the dev note says, we are making a handful of delicate tweaks to Kislev as we focus on their mid-tier and high-tier units' performance. Of particular note are the Elemental Bear and Ice Guard. We want to ensure that both are presented in a slightly more character-rich way. The Elemental Bear already has the visual effects of a cold aura, so we're giving them the chilling aura passive. Did they not always have that? Oh wow, I think I have a mod that actually gives it that. Okay, never mind. Which will slow down nearby enemy units and stack with frostbite attacks and Kislev spells. Pretty good overall, yeah. As for the Ice Guard, we're emphasizing their magic armor by granting them a natural spell resistance. And overall, you can see all the changes here. Overall, I think it's quite good. There's Boris is finally getting frostbite attacks. That's very useful. And the fix to the Atamans. I'm happy overall. So yeah, good. Just a few minor fixes here and there for Nurgle. They say that they're very happy with them since 1.2, and to be honest, yeah, you know, they are much better. Obviously, we've got the cultist tweaks that we know of since the Khorne thing, but overall, yeah, I think Nurgle's in a very good place. Economy could be a little bit better, and some anti-large would be useful, but that's more, that usually follows a patch with DLC, doesn't it? Just a few tweaks here and there for the Ogre Kingdoms, and they say that they're happy with them, and that's generally the case with DLC factions, let's be honest. They're generally a lot better than those of base game because, well, you gotta pay extra for those. I mean, yeah. A few changes coming in for Senesce. Let's just look at the dev note. For Senesce, we're boosting the stats of Demonettes, the Exalted Demonettes, as well as the Soul Send passive. This should ensure that infantry-heavy playstyles are significantly more relevant going forward. Cultists of Senesce will be seeing the changes that we've already talked about. I am a fan of this. It's about time that Senesce Demonettes got a little bit of a bonus, because yeah, cavalry-based armies are cool, but you can't really take over walls with cav, and this is probably going to help a bit. It will lead to a few different changes to armies. Yeah, I'm happy. As a Senesce fan, I'm very, very happy. And finally, Tzeentch. So let's read the dev note. In 1.2, we mentioned that we were considering bringing the Blue Horrors in line with other inexpensive infantry units by reducing their available ammunition. This is a massive change to their efficiency, so to maintain their relevance in the campaign, we're tweaking the Accursed Horrors skill effect to ensure that they get a notable boost to their missile strength. This won't quite make up for losing the ammunition, but we are already working on a new mechanic to aid in the ammunition carrying capacity of the Tzeentch roster that will reveal in update 2.0. Oh, that's exciting. To be honest, it's not really a massive change, it's only 5 to 4, and I kind of use the Blue Horrors just to soak enemies more than anything else, and even then I kind of replace them as soon as I can get Pink Horrors. So yeah, I don't think we're going to notice it too much. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see, I guess. I guess it's more because of the case of ranked battles. They're probably more useful as a range unit. We're going to have to wait and see, yeah. Alright, so we got some changes coming to campaign. This is a fairly big update. So general updates fixed an issue where non-chaos factions would not start new campaigns at war by default with nearby demon factions. And the wording's a bit here, but I guess is such as playing as Miao Yin but not fighting against the Watchers. But yeah, okay, that makes sense. I've never had that myself. Then Realm of Chaos fixed an issue where AI factions would continue to interact with a subset of rifts after a faction has already won the game. Okay, interesting. Changes have been made to counteract the need to proactively camp at the Forge of Souls. Once an AI has collected the 4 souls and teleports to the Forge of Souls, when an AI teleports to the Forge of Souls, players will now be prompted to teleport and confront them. Note that this dilemma will only appear if the player's faction's leader is in a state where they can teleport. Okay, a bit of a change there. That's not too bad. That's not too bad at all. Several changes have been made to prevent Kurgan warband armies from continuously spawning at the Great Bastion. Reduce the rate at which the threat meter fills. Okay. When the threat meter is not full, Kurgan warband armies will only spawn at each bastion gate when it is raised. Okay. The threat meter now reduces when any faction attacks and defeats a Kurgan warband army rather than just a Cathayan player. And improve visibility into when and why the threat meter is increasing or decreasing at any given time. I have got a question there. How does that work if you just completely destroy the Cathayan factions? Like, we won't really be able to know much. I don't know. It's a bit strange. Hopefully they can address that, though. Okay, several issues have been fixed in Tzeentch's realms. Sigils are now revealed upon entering and exiting a teleport locus. Cool. Action points are no longer removed when the player interacts with a point of interest in the realm. Fantastic. I'm very, very happy about that. And AI factions must now teleport 8 times before they can access the final area. Very, very, very helpful, because I hate that realm with a burning passion. Believe me, I really, really do. It's just so frustrating. Anyways, finally, several adjustments have been made to the final encounter with Be'lakor to make it less time-consuming and punishing. Reduce the rate at which units enter from the base of the map. Okay. During the final wave, killing Be'lakor will now cause the remaining demons to crumble and conclude the battle. So you can just aim Be'lakor. That's actually quite helpful. Because let's be honest, once you've done it once, that's cool. But when you're going to have to do it a number of times, it gets a bit of it becomes an issue. Reduce the number of soul grinders that accompany Be'lakor in the final wave. Yeah. Killing them is no longer required to complete the wave. Awesome. And finally, fix several issues which prevented Be'lakor from utilizing all of his spells and abilities during the encounter. Okay, yeah, a lot of people did notice that, so yeah, that's good to know. And finally, for quest battles Frozen Falls, fix several issues which would result in the battle being lost despite slaying all of the mages. Okay, that's good. Overall, very good fixes. I'm happy overall. The Tzeentch one is just the highlight of my day, I'll be very honest with you. We're near the end now with some battle changes, so general updates. Damage dealt to buildings now properly considers damage modifiers to both base damage and armor penetrating damage in its calculations. Okay, so you'll do more damage to towers. Is that what I'm understanding? Fixed a bug which prevented army abilities from using the current Winds of Magic and Magic reserve levels. Okay. This also addresses an issue with Arcane Surge. Fix an issue which prevented towers from being built at the end of the construction timer. Never saw that, but then again, I've kind of been avoiding settlement battles a bit. Fixed a terrain bug which prevented certain towers from firing. There was a lot of that. Hopefully that's been fixed though. Improved actualized vehicle movements, i.e. chariots and artillery pieces, to avoid sudden deaths or areas which would float units when moving. Yeah, we've all seen those meme videos. Yeah, I'm so happy that's being fixed, because I had that happen with an Iron Blaster, where it started just kind of floating after going off it wasn't even that steep of a hill, and then just randomly died. So yeah, that's good. Ambush battles. AI armies will no longer disregard enemy units in melee when retreating from an ambush battle. Okay, good. Domination battle, there's a few changes there. I'm not too well versed with that, so I'm not going to jump too much into that, but it's all to do with the comeback mechanic. You can see that there. And they're doing some updates to the reinforcement lines for the Black Fortress. This was for an issue with the major settlements. And finally, in multiplayer, they fixed a bug which could prevent the multiplayer game list from refreshing. So on, it's all good. And finally, we have the looking forward section, which is stuff that we'll likely see in 2.0, which is the Immortal Empires beta. The first thing is HUD color options. That's going to be amazing, mainly because, well, you know, everything's kind of been like a Cornish red, and it just doesn't fit with a lot of factions. So like Cathay having this icy blue, well, deeper blue type of thing, it's actually quite nice. I wonder, yeah, it looks like we can customize it, it says here. either way, just a few set ones would be lovely, you know, especially since we're getting all these factions coming in, like the Skaven need a Warpstone Green and all that type of stuff. But generally, yeah, this is good. Settlement Battle Fatigue is something that they want to look forward to, and I'm assuming that this is something that we're going to see in 2.0, maybe a few patches in, because it has to just allow for it to jump in and be tested more. Like I said, Immortal Empires will probably kill off the fatigue once we start seeing loads of different settlements. Hopefully they have loads of different settlements. And finally, Cafe and Formation Attack, that's something that we're going to see in 2.0, which was supposed to be in 1.3, but I guess they're just wanting to see how it goes with the changes so far to Grand Cafe. Overall, I'm happy. I think this is a very big patch. I think this is going to be very much needed. A lot of fixes coming into effect. And now we can start looking forward to Immortal Empires and all the other stuff. So, yeah. Now, obviously, this will have to change depending on anything. You know, like maybe the fan base finds a lot more issues. Maybe CA breaks a bunch of stuff as they add stuff. But I'm not going to look in a negative way. I'm not going to look in a negative way. So far, the updates have been really good, and they've made the game a lot better. So hopefully things continue like this. And it won't be too long until Immortal Empires. I think that's what's on everyone's mind now. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and we'll start a bit of a discussion.